Copyright disclaimer. Under Title 17 U.S.C. Section 107, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing nonprofit, educational, or personal use, tips a balance in favor of fair use. Okay, you guys. This is from listverse.com. 10 strange deaths connected to Church of Scientology. I just want to focus on Quentin Hubbard. Hold on. And we are going to be connecting some dots. I've always suspected there was something suspicious about Quentin's death. Born January 6, 1954, Quentin Hubbard was the eldest son of L. Ron and his third wife, Mary Sue. Ron had 7 children altogether, and his oldest son, Ron Jr., was supposed to take over the church's leadership after Ron passed away. But Ron Jr. left the church in 1959. Okay, sorry, I got a little... So Ron chose Quentin to be his successor. Yeah, go check out some of the information on Ron Jr. I don't know. A lot of the people that were arguing over power, I don't trust them too much, but he's got some interesting information. So Ron chose Quentin to be his successor. Quentin, however, didn't really take Scientology seriously, even though he had risen to be one of the top-ranking auditors. Must have started as a child, right? Auditors guide people through processes, interrogations, so that they can be considered clear, a state in which Scientologists believe they are free of inhibitions that are caused by painful images in their subconscious. When Quentin was 22, he apparently said that the practices his dad came up with didn't work, just like his oldest son said as well, and that he just fakes the results. Quentin is not the only one that does that, or did that, I'm sorry. Quentin also said that he thought his father was crazy. That's true. Saying something like this was one of the worst things that you could do in the church. And let's remind everyone that Quentin is not here to defend himself. So let's just keep that straight in all our heads. Remember, you guys, I always talk about 19 being the magic number. I'll get into that later. And it's not applicable to Quentin, but it's important. Quentin was told he would have to hand over his credentials and start all over again. They do that to a lot of people. I think in narcissism that would be moving the goalpost. This type of retraining would take years. That's the point. But Quentin didn't seem to care. That night, Quentin disappeared, allegedly, from the Scientology compound in Clearwater. Who's writing this article? Clearwater, Florida. He left behind a rambling note. Isn't that convenient, you guys? Isn't it convenient that he would leave a rambling note? Could he have, and if this is true, could he have been put in ethics handlings or sec checks like from, weeks on end? Like they did to Jenna Miscavige when she was just, 16 or 17? Lack of food and water, maybe? He left behind a rambling note about UFOs. Could he have been talking about Xenu and the planet, how do they say that? Tijiak? Could that have been what he was talking about? Maybe he discovered the scam and the lie that it was? And said he was going to Area 51. Doesn't this sound kind of like how they try to make alleged conspiracy theorists sound crazy? Sounds very familiar, doesn't it? To Area 51 in Nevada to fly spy planes. I don't buy this story for 1 minute. And if he was saying really wild things. Maybe he had a psychotic break when he reached the higher levels. I personally don't believe that. 300 operatives from the church's guardian office. Huh, perfect. Wonder if Rinder was there. A Scientology organization comparable to the CIA and KGB. Now, wow, isn't that a coincidental comparison, right? Must be a coincidence that someone brought that up, right? We're sent to find him. What, to keep the scam going? Quentin knew too much. It's my opinion. On October 28th, the Las Vegas police, allegedly. Listen to this very, very closely, guys. On October 28th, the Las Vegas police, allegedly, found a white Pontiac with license plates. A young man was unconscious inside. Was he dead or was he unconscious? It's very important. Was he dead or was he unconscious? It's a huge difference. The engine was still running, and listen to this, there was a tube running from the exhaust pipe into the car. The young man who didn't have any identification on him. Well, wow, that was really convenient, wasn't it? That was convenient. Now, listen to this. It's crazy. It's crazy why this would be pertinent to the article. Appeared to have had sex sometime before he lost consciousness. And there was blank in his blank. You guys should figure that out. He stayed in a coma until November 12th, when he finally passed away. This screams some type of made-up lie. Can you guys tell me why that information would have been pertinent to put into the article? One of Quentin's best friends, I forget what her name is. I'd have to go back and research it again. She had stated that she did not feel that Quentin liked men. I mean, it's a possibility. But to me, that seems like some type of shaming that they put that in there. And just keep really close in mind about that tube running from the exhaust pipe into the car. That's what I want to focus on. On November 22nd, the body was identified of Quentin Hubbard. Wait a minute, in Scientology, allegedly Hubbard created it. Isn't being homosexual point 2 on the number 2 on the tone scale? If that's what this was about. Seems like motive to me, doesn't it to you? If that's the case. On November 22nd, the body was identified as of Quentin Hubbard. Apparently, when Ron was given the report on his son's death, this should be good. He said, "That little shit has done it to me again." Wow, what a loving father that is. What a loving father. Almost like he knew about the death, right? Well, we already know. I mean, it's pretty much demonstrated that L. Ron Hubbard was a complete narcissist. Wonder who the coroner was, because you know they really love to get their favorite coroners and their favorite judges. Or try to turn an honest coroner or an honest judge to be dishonest. That's been documented. It's public knowledge. The first autopsy said Quentin had died from asphyxiation from carbon monoxide. Mary Sue was devastated and ordered 3 more autopsies to be performed. I would guess she didn't believe the story then, huh? I don't know much about her, but from what I've done, my research, she didn't seem like a very good individual either. I don't know, I wasn't there, like BJ says. The final one came back as inconclusive. Well, I mean, it's like, what, are you picking and choosing, like, what autopsy you get? Or maybe this was the cover-up black PR thing. And there's other reports, I just don't feel like going into them right now. I mean, if I was as good as BJ, which I never will be, I would go and do a FOIA request and do the death report, but I'm not going to go that far. Maybe one day I'll get there. The final one came back as inconclusive. Mary Sue also told people Quentin had died from encephalitis. That to me sounds like a lie. Where's the evidence on that? Where's the evidence? But then again, I'm not saying that this is true. I don't buy it. But remember what happened with Jench, the Jench child. Well, he was an adult, allegedly, when he had died of some type of a pneumonia or something. Unfortunately, that poor baby had been sexually abused. Where his parents were, beyond me. Okay, which is an inflammation of the brain. Apparently, Mary Sue was a doctor, you know. Hubbard believed that the death was a murder to get at him. You know, he's like the most paranoid person. I personally believe, it's my opinion, that Ron Hubbard had something to do with his death. I believe, it's my opinion, that Scientology had something to do with his death. Others believe that Quentin may have committed bluicide because he was gay. I mean, that's the story that they've pitched. It's possible. Oh, I wish I had that story in front of me, but I remember reading stories from the woman who had been his best friend. She didn't think that was the case. It's possible. Not that it's bad to be gay, I don't believe that. But I'm just saying, like, we're really not there to confirm anything. That's what I mean. A violation of the teachings of Scientology. Imagine that they've gone 70 years and the governments have not done anything. Isn't that oddball? It's weird, right? Everyone else is committing a hate crime if they say X and X and X against something X and X and X, right? You're an anti-X. But Scientology was allowed to go on for 70 years like this? Okay, so I'm not even going to... Well, I'll finish it. L. Ron Hubbard died 10 years later, and David Miscavige became the leader of the church, a position he holds to this day. Okay, now we're going to get to what I'm really connecting. Okay, this is from Cult Education Institute. I just want to solidify my theories here and the patterns that I'm seeing. I've not read this book, Rick Alan Ross, Cults Inside Out. Looks like another good read. Hold on a minute, you guys. Had to get my readers for this one. The print is very small. The Hidden Hubbard, Toronto Globe and Mail, January 26, 1980, by John Marshall. The mysterious Lafayette Ronald Hubbard isn't talking. The founder of Church of Scientology remained the supreme authority in the cult even after his departure as leader was announced in 1966. Okay, you guys, this was not what I thought it was, so give me a minute. Okay, I was wrong again. It's in here. I'm just not reading this entire article. I'm glad that I found this. Another son, Quentin, was found in a coma in a car on a back road near Las Vegas. A hose running from the exhaust pipe into the car. It's very important. He died several days later in hospital without regaining consciousness. There were no license plates on the car. Now, wouldn't he have gotten pulled over? I mean, it's possible. It just seems weird to me. And no identification, that right there is weird. I mean, unless, like Scientology likes to keep people's passports and identifications cards. No identification. Okay, now here they're saying he's 20 years old. No identification on the 20-year-old Mr. Hubbard. It's not 19, the magic number, but 19 is important. His identification papers were found under a rock nearby. Now, come on, you guys. That sounds so weird. That sounds so weird. His death was officially called a suicide and attributed to carbon monoxide poisoning. My opinion. I believe it very well could have been murder. There has been no explanation of the peculiar circumstances. Well, there you go. Police say, no mention of which police, where, or anything, that when the victim was finally identified, and you guys notice in here they didn't say that he was unconscious. Remember that first article I was reading, they said he was unconscious? Well, being unconscious and being dead is a whole different thing. You might want to get that one straight. This doesn't sound right to me, you guys. Police say that when the victim was finally identified. Well, did you identify him by his identification papers found under a rock nearby? I mean, come on. First of all, who would put the identification papers under the rock? Number one. I mean, and if you were going to off yourself, you would just, what would it matter where your identification papers were? It doesn't sound right. And identification papers could get rained on, they could get mud on them, they could blow away. I mean, it just doesn't sound right. Here we go with the weirdness. Police say that when the victim was finally identified, efforts were made to reach his parents, Ron and Mary Sue Hubbard, but without success. So this was before Mary Sue went to prison, allegedly. The couple would not even talk to investigators on the phone. Tell me that's not weird, you guys. If this is even the true story. Doesn't sound right. We know how paranoid Ron was all the time. I mean, does that sound like concerned parents to you guys? Not at all. The police say Scientology spokesmen, the ones with no fucking names, told them that the Hubbards believe their son had been killed. Listen to this dumb, idiotic stuff. That their son had been killed in an attempt to get his father to come out in the open. What does that, listen to that. So I guess when the police came over, you remember all these stories about all the crimes that Ron was committing? But yet the police have all this interaction with him. I mean, it just... Mr. Hubbard has avoided any kind of appearance before persons other than the cult followers. For a great many years in the early 1960s, he refused to appear before an exhaustive Australian inquiry into his teachings. Well, isn't that convenient? I guess he gets the choice whether he's going to show up in court or not. I mean, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure this out. I just don't go there, but I allude to it and I give you guys hints. A probe that he at first said was being held at his organization's insistence. What is that called again? Arbitration? I'm just guessing, I don't know. Later, his request that the Victoria state government pay his fare. Wow, he doesn't have money? Come on. Said, okay, I gotta go back. A probe that he first said was being held at his organization's insistence. Later, his request that the Victoria state government pay his fare from England was rejected. That prompted Scientologists to say they didn't get a fair hearing at the probe, which produced a scathing report of their leader and their practices. Okay, you guys, I'm sorry. I thought this was related to Quentin's death. They just went into something else. This is kind of interesting. I think I'm going to read this later. But I want to focus right now on Quentin's death. Okay, you guys, so keep in mind the hose or the pipe and the car exhaust. Scientology, the Apollo series. Scientology's Ocean at the End of the Lane. An open letter to Neil Gaiman. Okay, that's something separate. That's a separate thing. I'm not going to go into that one with the Neil Gaiman. Okay, a verdict of suicide was recorded at an East Grinstead inquest today on a South African Johannes Hermanus Scheepers, age 29, described on his alien registration card as a student of Scientology. Mr. Scheepers was said to have been staying at the home of Mr. David Gaiman. Ooh, there is a connection with, I think, Neil Gaiman then? Harwood House, South, Harwood's Lane, a mile from the Scientologists' international headquarters at St. Hill Manor, East Grinstead. Mr. Gaiman, age 35, a senior executive of the cult. It's always the prestigious executives, isn't it? Like Mike Rinder, a prestigious executive, denied an oath that the dead man had been student of Scientology at St. Hill. Deny. Asked by Dr. Angus Somerville, the East Sussex coroner, why Mr. Scheepers had come to Britain, Mr. Gaiman said, I assume that he came to gamble. You see how right away they're going to discredit the guy? See that? Something tells me that this Mr. Gaiman, Neil Gaiman's father, wasn't a good guy. That was the activity that took his interest. Allegedly. Mr. Gaiman said he was introduced to Mr. Scheepers 2.5 months ago. That means he's around 8, I think. Let's see. Mr. Scheepers had stayed at his house in Harwood's Lane for a short time and then left, saying he was going to Brighton. On Thursday evening, August 29th, Mr. Scheepers arrived at his house and said he was flying back to South Africa on Saturday. A bed was made up for him. Scheepers had mentioned casually to my wife that his gambling system had broken down, and from that I gathered the impression he was broke, Mr. Gaiman said. Police Constable Albert Walker said Mr. Scheepers was found on August 31st in a car parked in Harwood's Lane, a plastic pipe wedged into the exhaust, entered the car by window. Do you guys see the connections here? Dr. Albert Sachs, a pathologist, said the cause of death was carbon monoxide poisoning, just like Quentin Hubbard. Police Constable Colin Daffist the coroner's officer, said Mr. Scheepers left 2 letters. Isn't it always convenient? Everybody writes a note. Quentin wrote a note, and this guy here wrote a letter, allegedly. Can we get a handwriting expert on it? Saying he was going to take his own life. Where have we heard this before, you guys? Isn't that like the perfect case? Somebody perfectly writes a letter saying they're going to off themselves, and it's all done the same way. You guys see what I'm saying? We're going to have to go over that policy that talks about you can do anything to keep Scientology going. I've got it somewhere in my videos. Saying he was going to take his own life and that this had nothing to do with Scientology. Think about that, you guys. Conveniently, it had nothing to do with Scientology. Wow. Wow. I don't even have to be a police officer or detective to figure out that's a cover-up. Maybe there needs to be inquests into these people's deaths, don't you think? I think they deserve justice. I think Quentin Hubbard deserves justice, and I think this man, let me see his name. I think Mr. Scheepers deserves justice. Nothing to do with Scientology or being a member of the group. His flight back to South Africa had been canceled. Wow, how convenient is that? Looks like he was trying to escape, doesn't it? He just wanted to go home. And they wouldn't let him. It's my opinion. It's my opinion. My opinion. My opinion. After the inquest, Mr. Gaiman said a check had shown, we could trust this, right, that Mr. Scheepers had not been registered at any Scientology establishment in Britain. You guys see, it's always their modus operandi. It's the individual, not Scientology. Apparently, it's not just Scientology that does that. Okay, you guys, this is going to lead to another suicide done the same way. Let me see if I can get to the link. I couldn't get to it last time, I don't think. Oh. Okay, this is a little older. I have to read this on my tablet. Dated May 18th, 1972. To whom it may concern, from HCO Vancouver, subject Graham Leese. Isn't it amazing how at least I can give Jerry Armstrong at least this much credit? He took some of the documents with him. Unlike, did we ever see what Rinder allegedly took with him? Subject Graham Leese. This order is issued as a clarification of Vancouver Ethics Order Number 49 on Graham Leese, by assigning his various hats, areas, an individual condition, so he can work out of them. One, as Graham Leese, he is assigned a condition of non-existence. Imagine a child getting assigned this. He is encouraged to apply the formula forthwith. 2, as a CS, case supervisor, he is assigned a condition of danger for bypassing his regular CS and CSing his own case and not getting auditing for his PC himself, which costs money too, by the way. 3, as a PC assigned a condition of danger for A as an alpha, not recognizing when a PC pre-clear himself needed auditing. So apparently this Graham, he was kind of like probably catching on like something's not right. You see what they did to him? When a PC himself needed auditing, and B as in Bravo, not accepting sessions from April 13, 1972, his last session, and May 5, 1972, the date of the accident, and C, as in Charlie, not being in a condition to be audited on his program after May 6, 1972, but having to be given assists, probably by children. A lot of people want to save all these Scientologists, and look at the things that they're doing. Not all the Scientologists are good people. I'm sorry, they're not. 4. As a group member, he is assigned a condition of non-existence for not applying for leave. You know, the children have to apply for leave as well, right? And for not being here. 5. As a stable terminal in the area, non-existence for not being here. 6. As an auditor, he is assigned a condition of liability for not writing up his hat, leaving posts without completing various auditing cycles he started, and not ensuring that a suitable replacement was available. Children have to go through that as well. Just read Jenna Miscavige's book, please. 7. As a Scientologist, he is assigned a condition of liability for putting the name and technology of Scientology in jeopardy amongst PCs, pre-clears, students, like children, and staff, like children, by not applying Scientology technology and data to his own life. You're not allowed, you see? Especially the data that the spirit alone may save or heal the body. Graham is urged to apply the non-existence formula to himself so that he can be in a position to apply the other formulas to the other areas and work out of them. Hillary Rockel, AHCO Area Secretary for the Church of Scientology, British Columbia, dated and stamped July 5th, 1971. Church of Scientology of British Columbia. Okay, hold on just a second. I don't want to reread the same thing. Okay, so this has to do with Graham Leese. Just follow me, you guys, and I'm going to get back to the hose and the exhaust and all that. The following from a declaration apparently made by Canadian ex-Scientologist Lorna Levitt in 1994. 1. Dave Dewhurst was an associate student, client, PC, customer of Graham Leese. David was a PC, pre-clear, of the Scientology organization that Graham Leese had established, that Graham had been persuaded into turning over to the Sea Org. Dave had an ethics suppressive order on him at the time. That's like death to some of these folks, right? Dave's body was found on the ground of L.C. Griffith's franchise. An apparent suicide. And here we go again, you guys. Hose pipe. You listen to this. Listen to this, guys. Hose pipe connected to the exhaust. Again. And there's more, you guys. So this is what? This is the third person I'm connecting the same type of suicide? Come on. His body was in the back seat. He was not a pre-clear of LC's franchise. That's them getting out of liability right there. LC's franchise, Graham Leese and Elsie Griffiths, had previously worked together before Graham opened his own franchise. I guess back when they had franchises, people could actually make money. There was some research done regarding a law case Scientology against a Harry Rankin for criticizing Scientology. Okay, I want to focus on Graham Leese's, but I'll go ahead and read this. There was some research done regarding a law case Scientology had against a Harry Rankin for criticizing Scientology on radio on a talk show. The research indicated an insurance policy Dave Dewhurst had made out to Scientology. His death occurred 2 weeks after the expiry date. Means they couldn't get the money, I believe. The same research uncovered that the two people involved in Graham Leese's hit-and-run accident. Wow, so there was something that happened before his death. Graham Leese knew something. Graham Leese's hit-and-run accident, both died in separate accidents. Been telling you guys this for the longest. You know there's a trail of deaths. You know there's a trail of blood. You know it. Not even to start on the little babies, because there's a lot of them. Within a year, Graham Leese's hit-and-run accident, both died in separate accidents within a year. I'll bet Rinder knew nothing about this either, did he? At least I can give Gerald Armstrong credit for he's talking about it. That gives me more, to me that gives Gerald Armstrong more credibility in my eyes. You didn't see Rinder talking about anything except himself. Graham Leese was an accountant and also part-time insurance sales. 2. Graham Leese's young wife was terrified of Scientology. She and Graham had become emotionally involved. I don't know what that is. On Flag, maybe? Maybe it's Flag. On Flag, where Graham had been doing advanced training. This came from same research. She was a Scientologist and estranged from Scientology. I mean, she left. And they had a small child, Graham Leese. Had a small child. Graham Leese, longtime, old-time Scientologist, and his new wife had ethics trouble on Flag. Does anybody not have ethics trouble here? Paying to get tortured? And difficulties on course where they became involved in 2D. For anyone who doesn't understand, that's two-dimensional. That's the sex dimension. I mean, everybody's just all in everyone's sex life. It's just so sick. On return to Vancouver, his franchise was set up as an org. Under Sea Org pressure, Graham was not happy with how Scientology was being applied. That would be, I'm not a Scientology fan, but he was being a true and blue Scientologist. You see? He spoke to me and sent me some advanced processes because he felt that I was applying true Scientology to help others. In other words, this guy was truly an ethical person. A short time later, I heard that he was in the hospital and that the Scientologists were trying to process him and had constant contact with him. Later, I heard he died without regaining consciousness. Later, I heard that Graham was returning home from the org about the usual time, about 11. I can't read it. It says a.m.? That seems weird. Because that would be in the morning. About 11 a.m. and he was hit by 2 hit-and-runs. Dave Dewhurst's suicide occurred after Graham's accident. Dave had been close to Graham. I later heard the details when I was asked to be a witness for the Rankin case defense. This is deep, you guys. So then the Dewhurst guy shows up dead too. I want to see what this goes to. Okay, this is Lorna Levitt's statement. I don't really want to go all the way down the rabbit hole. I just want to connect how many of these so-called Scientologist deaths, why are they all dying the exact same way? And what was that policy that allegedly, L. Ron Hubbard said that at any cost, you can do whatever it takes to keep Scientology running, or if you're defending Scientology, you can up to murder? I forget what it's called, but it's there somewhere. Hold on. Okay, so I had linked the same thing again. Okay, there's a lot going on here. I think somebody else should really dig deep into this one. David, okay, so this is again, hold on a minute here. What's her name again? Lorna Levitt, this is her statement. 1. Dave Dewhurst was an associate student client PC, customer of Graham, and apparently they were buddies. Customer of Graham Leese. Dave was a PC, pre-clear, of the Scientology organization that Graham Leese had established, that Graham had been persuaded into turning over to the Sea Org. Was this a strong arm? Did they take his franchise away from him? This is kind of what it's sounding like. If he really did take his own life, I don't think he did, but they took everything from him. And we know that doesn't ever happen in Scientology. Dave had an ethics suppressive order on him at the time. Dave's body was found on the grounds of Elise Griffith's franchise, an apparent suicide. Hose pipe connected to the exhaust. His body was in the back. That alone doesn't even sound right. Do you guys, if we were to go and do a bunch of research on people who actually truly did end their life this way, there's many ways to do it. Aren't they usually in the driver's seat? Almost like someone else had driven the car and then somehow forced them. They were probably riding in the back seat. And also, too, I want to go back and see where Quentin Hubbard was sitting. Anyways, there's a lot going on here. I'm going to end this there. It's going to take me a little while to put all these links in the description box, but this is crazy. And I also want to know what happened with the Dewhurst guy. Y'all, we knew that this was going on. But right now, just myself alone, I linked 3 alleged suicides that were, per description, exhaust. There was a hose or a pipe connected into the window. Or I don't know how they connected it, but every single one was done in the exact same way. Now, this guy Leese allegedly was in the back seat. I want to see where Quentin was, because if he was in the back seat, you guys know. So I'll leave the links in the description box. Like and subscribe if you choose. Otherwise, have an amazing day or night wherever you are. Peace.